Tonight, government files criminal charges against two former top officials of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund over the failed $3 billion Accra SkyTrain project. Details here on Newsnight. Also tonight, the presidential corruption caution. President John Mahama's private warning to his cabinet ministers and appointees as he chases what the General Secretary of the NDC calls his legacy term.
This president is not scared to fire you at the least opportunity. He's not scared to ensure that if you do what is wrong, you are dealt with. He's here for legacy. He wants to ensure that he leaves a legacy. And I can tell you that even within the corridors of cabinet, this statement has been said again and again.
We'll hear from the General Secretary of the NDC, who says the party will not shield any party member found to be corrupt.
This time around, no matter who you are, if you get involved and you do anything that amounts to literally shortchanging the country, that party at the highest level is not going to shield you. The party at the highest level is not going to in any way say that, oh, it's a party person, let go. No. Reset means reset. It's simply the business as usual is over.
Also tonight, minority considers triggering impeachment proceedings against President John Mahama, accusing him of willfully breaching the constitution by traveling abroad without leaving an acting president in charge.
And at appropriate time, if we have to invoke the impeachment proceedings, we will do so. We will not sit idly by for the constitution given to us to be violated without any consequences.
We'll hear from the NDC.
Justice Bafubole has assumed the mantle of leadership in the absence of these three personalities that I have mentioned. So Bafubole is in firm control of affairs in our country.
Well, the opposition MPP is also demanding that President Mahama compels all NDC executives holding public office to resign.
The continued holding of political appointments alongside public office positions undermines the principle of neutrality in public service, and these individuals remain bound by their party loyalties.
In business,
President John Mahama vows to make stabilizing the energy sector and the economy his major priority, insisting ongoing reforms already yielding the desired results.
And in sports break home, Chelsea head coach Samuel Boadu and 4 other players charged by the Ghana Football Association for alleged misconduct during the FA Cup semi-final game against the Santo Kotoko.
Business Sports Plus, your views 0551111997 or here on Newsnight. And we start tonight with the latest case filed against the former appointee of the Akufo-Addo administration. Former board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Professor Christopher Meyer-Kumfi, and former CEO Solomon Asamoah are facing criminal charges over the failed $3 billion Accra Train Sky project. Now, the charges stem from allegations of financial mismanagement and lack of diligence, including a $2 million payment made to Africa Investment Holdings in 2019 before feasibility studies were conducted. The charges, which were filed at the Criminal Division of the High Court in Accra by the Attorney General, includes willfully causing financial loss to the state and intentional dissipation of public funds. Legal Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins me with details of this. Kweku, let's start with the key charges brought against the two accused. What are they?
That Christopher Meyer-Kumfi and Solomon Asamoah faces a conspiracy to willfully cause financial loss to the state and then intentionally dissipating public funds. And all of this relate to the Criminal and Other Offences Act and the Public Property Protection Decree. In total, the Attorney General has slapped these two persons with 6 counts in total, and that is what they have to respond to when their charges are taken in court.
And what does the state allege happened with the $2 million?
Well, Evans, according to the charge sheet, both Solomon Asamoah and Christopher Meyer-Kumfi, while serving as board chair and CEO of the Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund, authorized the transfer of about $2 million to a company called Africa Investment Holdings for shares in the AI SkyTrain Consortium. The problem for the state, however, is that this payment was made without proper board approval and due diligence, and that is the allegation of the state, and that indeed, despite paying this $2 million, the SkyTrain project has never been built.
Who are these accused persons?
So Solomon Asamoah at the time acted as the chief executive officer of the Ghana Infrastructural Investment Fund between 2017, when Akufo-Addo first came to office, and the end of the tenure in 2024. Professor Ameya Akumfi, who did serve previously under John Jakum Kufuor as education minister and all that, also chaired the board of this fund between 2017 and 2021. This is the period within which this amount of money was spent, and prosecutors say these two persons have not been able to account for the funds.
See, and what happens now?
We know now that the charges have been filed. The state is expected to file their witness statement, but prior to this, these accused persons would have to come to court. Their plea will be taken as to whether or not they are guilty or not. When they plead guilty, not guilty as we expect, a full trial will ensue, and then the state will now have to come and file their witness statement. They will file other disclosures, and then the trial judge, whoever the Chief Justice will appoint to lead this trial, will set the appropriate date. They will be conferencing, and then the full-blown trial will ensue.
Quickly, thank you very much. I want to bring in Martin Kpebu. He was a member of the oral committee that was put up shortly after the NDC won power. He's a lawyer, also joins us on the line right now. Martin, Operation Recover or Loot, of which you were a member of that particular committee, I wonder, was this one of the issues that you documented for the consideration of the Attorney General?
Yeah, Evan. No, this particular case. Oh, sorry, this is a SkyTrain. Yes. I think my mind was on Edubuahi. My apologies. Yes. You know, SkyTrain is one case that the people of Ghana were very livid about. Yes. People of Ghana were livid about, and so as soon as the committee was formed, it's one of the ones that people publicly told us. I mean, so as I remember at least 3 occasions. People saw me and they were like, hey, the SkyTrain. So that's one case that, I mean, we couldn't have left out. Yes, it certainly was part. And it's heartwarming to see that today it has finally been filed.
You've seen the charge sheet. Does it reflect what you discovered yourself when you looked into it closer with your committee?
What I would say is that publicly, so this is what we did. Remember, the remit of the committee was to receive complaints. We didn't do investigations. So, yes, some of the facts look familiar. The main fact being that we had paid $2 million and yet we had no SkyTrain. $2 million of the taxpayers' money, yet no SkyTrain, right? So issues of without authorization, etc., are matters that have now been uncovered in through the investigations.
But from what we know, and speaking to the principals who were responsible for the disbursement at the time, they tell you that the $2 million was simply to acquire shares in the Africa Investment Holdings. How does that translate to something that naturally would lead to the manifestation of a SkyTrain? Is to acquire shares. That's the argument that they've put up.
No, but we're publicly told that there will be SkyTrains. That's what we're told. That there was going to be SkyTrains, and even pictures were brought in, etc. So, an argument that the money was used to acquire shares is neither here nor there. Ultimately, SkyTrains were to be built in Ghana, period. So, anything short of that will not cut master. That's what we are sure. There was so much excitement that, hey, there will be SkyTrains. Like, I mean, well, I don't remember all, but I think even some, as to whether it's true or not, it was even made to look like that would be the first in Africa or something like that. You know, there was a lot of excitement. So it's too late in the day to now go back on those words.
Let me bring in Adam Senanu, who is with the Anti-Corruption Coalition and joins us on the line right now. Adam, I've seen the charge sheet. The $2 million that had become the fundamental key issue around which we've seen the charges filed and then the prosecution started. The whole controversy was around where is that amount of money. there isn't a case to be made as far as the Attorney General is concerned for retrieval of the funds. And yes, there's a case there for prosecution, but we also want the money returned to the public chest. Isn't that part of the process that the Attorney General should also be concerned about? Yes, throw people in jail, definitely, but we want our monies back too.
Well, yes. I mean, if you invest into any company and it's a matter of shares, you should be able to de-invest those shares unless there is some rule that prevents you from doing so. In fact, assuming that this is an entity that is known to be profitable, over the period, there should have been dividends that are declared which should inure to the state and the good people of this country. So there are several questions that can be asked. What due diligence was done to make sure this was a profitable venture? Or in this instance, there was a product we're expecting to see. Who buys a product without having seen a sample of that product and being sure that the company that is, as it were, holding itself out as capable of providing that product has done this elsewhere? We're discovering too late that they didn't even have the license for the technology. And so the money is stuck somewhere. We should be able to go after our money as well and say we are no longer interested in having those shares.
And Martin, that is an important part of this process, or it should be an important part of the process, shouldn't it? That fact that we want our monies back beyond the prosecution.
Absolutely, yes. And even the Attorney General himself, being an erudite professor, has made that point in the past that it's not every case that he will insist on pressing charges. He's looking to recover a lot of the money to the public chest. So, it means that he's open. And so the fact that this case is going to court may be an indication that recovering the money may be extremely challenging. Because Dr. Ayine made it very clear on the first press conference on the Edubuahi matter. He was very, very clear. Maybe you can let your producers get that press conference, the clip. So he says that he's not looking to press charges in every case. He's looking to recover money to the public chest. And we have made this point ad nauseum that, look, we don't benefit from just throwing people into jail. If the person can return the money and pay a decent interest compensation to the government, we should take it. Remember the Atu-Forcing case. The Atu-ACN. The Atu-ACN case, how we're pushing that they should take the properties, but eventually it turned out that there were very complex issues with those properties. They were not available, and that's how come eventually Atu-ACN ended up in jail. So Dr. Ayine, if we talk about recovery to Dr. Ayine, it's like we are preaching to the converted. So let's see, but we can still ask him all the same. But I believe that based on his previous statements, the fact that this case is in court is an indication that it has been difficult up to this stage to do recovery. But sometimes when you press the charges like this, when the good professor looks at it and sees that, Charlie, he could be in trouble, it's possible for his friends and sympathizers to come together and raise that money, and then they can settle the case. So maybe friends and sympathizers of Professor Emia Ekunfi should look. And look at how to settle this case.
Martin Kpebu was a member of the Oral Committee, Adam Senanu anti-corruption campaigner with the Anti-Corruption Coalition. Let's stay on the subject of corruption, shall we? Tonight, as the controversy surrounding the Gold Board CEO viral cash video rages on, we are learning about a private stern warning issued by President Mahama to his cabinet ministers. The General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Kwete, who sits in cabinet, has disclosed how the president, pursuant to his desire to chase a legacy term, has served notice to all appointees he will sack or prosecute any of them found engaged in corruption. Listen to him.
If anyone within a party or within government believes that this is just business as usual, it means that the person or the group of people don't understand what is going on.
When you say it's not business as usual?
As opposed to what happened over the last 8 years, where you could literally take advantage of some of these things and then take care of yourself and do it at the expense of the country. This time around, no matter who you are, if you get involved and you do anything that amounts to literally shortchanging the country, that party at the highest level is not going to shield you. The party at the highest level is not going to in any way say that, oh, it's a party person, let go. No. Reset means reset. It's simply the business as usual is over. Things have to be done properly. Now, we can't also not simply give up and say that simply because in the past there were challenges, we cannot rise to do better things today.
I mean, but isn't that rhetoric?
Yeah.
I mean, we will deal with you with parties and politicians have said in the past. We have a president once who came and said, if you want to make money, my government is not the place to be.
That's true.
We saw what happens. The anti-corruption reports told the story. I mean, and you have to just look at the corruption perception index report.
I understand that.
So when I hear you say that as a general secretary,
it's different.
We've had this before.
It's different.
What's different?
It's different. We're talking about a bar that was pretty low. We're talking about a previous government that clearly was heavy on talk, but too little on genuine, should I call it, delivery. We're talking about a president that really just believed that it's all about reading great speeches and not so much about putting his foot down and ensuring that things are done well. Now, John Mahama is not perfect, but even in his previous mandate, he clearly did a number of things that very many leaders wouldn't do. He clearly showed, for example, that if you don't get it right, he's not hesitant to take decisions that ought to be taken. For example, over the last 8 years, you barely could see a president having the courage to even do reshuffle. It's almost as if he was even scared of his own appointees. This president is not scared to fire you at the least opportunity. He's not scared to ensure that if you do what is wrong, you are dealt with. He's shown that in the past. And this time around, because again, he said that he's here for legacy, it simply means that the resolve is even higher.
He said that?
Oh, yeah. He said it again and again, that he's here for legacy. He wants to ensure that he leaves a legacy. So he's not here to come and countenance anyone shortchanging the country and just thinking about himself. And now as General Secretary, and I can tell you that even within the corridors of cabinet, this statement has been said again and again.
That the president
meaning the very highest group of people who are in charge of this country do know that none of them is going to be spared if they do anything that shortchanges the country.
They've been told in no uncertain terms.
Absolutely, in no uncertain terms, not just by the leadership, as a presidential leadership, but also by the leadership of the party. So it means everybody on the same wavelength. You are on your own. We are not covering nobody. Do what is right, because Ghana has to simply set a new benchmark for leadership, and that means the country must be number one.
I mean,
and that is the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Kwete, in this yet to be aired interview. It's going to be on PM Express later tonight. You want to watch the full thing from 9 p.m. Already you can find it on many social media platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube. It's also going to be on myjoyonline.com. But I want to bring in Vitus Azim, anti-corruption campaigner himself, former head of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, on the president's private warning to his appointees in cabinet that we're now learning about. Mr. Azim, I'm grateful for your time. I asked that question of the General Secretary, and I want your assessment of this because you've seen this all. Is this mere rhetoric that beyond that, without concrete evidence of commitment, stays as words?
Well, until we see the action, we cannot just take his word seriously. Because like you said, it has happened in the past. Politicians have said several things and nothing has happened. Kufuor promised zero tolerance for corruption. When he came into office, we didn't see much. Even Mahama himself, in his first regime, his code of conduct, he launched a code of conduct in 2013. We didn't see anybody being sanctioned based on the code of conduct. As for Nana Kugado, we can't talk. It was too serious. So until we see action, words are not just enough for me.
I mean, the first evidence of this commitment is found, if you like, in the code of conduct that shortly after he's taking office, within the first 120 days, he has a code of conduct adopted and he's clearly told us what he wants to do when it comes to that code of conduct. Isn't that at least an indication that he means business?
Well, you can say it's an indication, but it doesn't mean anything if no action is followed up on it. You see, this country, we have several laws on corruption or anti-corruption, but they are just lying there as laws. No enforcement, nothing is followed up. So until we see actual action being taken, I don't think that we should be too excited about it.
What do you want to see to be convinced that these words he's already told his appointees in cabinet meetings, he really means business and he wants to fulfill it?
We expect prompt investigations into credible allegations of corruption by his appointees to be followed by actual action like removal, recovery of monies, and all that. That will show that he's really committed to doing what he has said.
Vice Azim, thank you very much. And that there is the former head of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Vice Azim, on the disclosure we're learning about tonight, that the president had told his cabinet ministers what he will do to them if they are found corrupt. We've just been hearing it from Fifi Kwete. You can find that full interview tonight at 9 p.m. on PM Express. Well, the minority in parliament say they are considering starting impeachment proceedings against President John Mahama. The MPP accused the president of engineering what they call an egregious breach of the constitution, which has left Ghana without an acting president. Now, the president, Mahama, has been out of the country since last week. His vice has been on sick leave, with the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, also currently outside the country. Now, this, the minority says, has led to a serious breach of the constitution, vowing action against the president must be taken. We'll hear from the minority shortly about what exactly is their case. Kwekwa Sante of our Legal Affairs Desk explains.
Article 68 of the 1992 Constitution provides that a vice president shall assume the role of the president whenever the president travels outside the country or is unable to perform the functions of his office. But even before the president traveled, the vice president had been outside Ghana for weeks on sick leave. Ironically, the president's first stop outside Ghana was the United Kingdom, where he visited his vice president before heading to Togo and then Ivory Coast. With both John Mahama and Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman out of Ghana, the baton automatically passed to the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, who is required under law to take the oath of the president and act in his stead. But Alban Bagbin has also since traveled out of Ghana. Since the general assumption is that the next in line of succession is the Chief Justice, questions have been asked as to whether the acting Chief Justice, Paul Bafoboni, has been sworn in to act as president in the absence of the first three in the line of succession. Professor Kojo Apieje Etua of the University of Ghana School of Law demanded full disclosure.
When the president was not in, and we know that the vice president is also not in, he should have been sworn into office. And when he was leaving, measures should have also been taken for him to hand over to the Chief Justice. And the Chief Justice would then have been sworn in by the most senior of the justices at the Supreme Court. And that should have been a clear situation where steps have been taken to fill all the gaps. And therefore, the current president should be the acting Chief Justice.
Article 60 of the Constitution, which is partly titled Succession to the Presidency, does not mention the Chief Justice at all. The minority contend that he is not in line to be president in the current situation.
The minority, they have a statement out already on this particular matter on the back of an initial one that they had issued. Legal counsel to the MPP minority and MP for Swame John Darko accuses the president of acting like he was above the law and says his side will not hesitate to bring impeachment proceedings, start the process in Parliament to have the president removed.
Our constitution is very clear. Anybody who has to act as a president must take the oath of the president. And so you remember, anytime the president and vice president are out of the country, the Speaker of Parliament will have to take the oath of president. And so as it stands now, nobody has taken that oath of president. And you have to take that oath of president in the presence of Parliament. I'm a parliamentarian. You have been called by the office of the Speaker for anybody to be sworn in as acting president. So it's well intents and purposes. At the time the president was outside the country, nobody had sworn, the oath of president to act as a president. And so that vacuum had been created. And you see, the problem is that if we allow these constitutional violations to go on, today it is Article 60. The next time it may be Article 18. The next time it may be your human rights. And then by the time you realize the president say, well, I want to go for the third term, because the guardrails that we have put there, he will consistently violate them without any punishment. When the president took the oath of president, he said that when he willfully violates the Constitution, he will suffer the penalty thereof. Is the president ready to now subject himself to his oath of office, to be subjected to the impeachment processes for willful violation of the constitutional provision? These are questions we need to ask. And as a people of Ghana, we must all fight against this act of the president. We should, and the problem is that at the time the president was leaving, the Speaker of Parliament had already left. So when the president was leaving the country, he knew, or at best ought to have known, that he was going to create that vacuum, and that his leaving the country was going to be a breach of the Constitution. But now Emperor Mr. President decided that, look, I am the emperor, I can do whatever I like, damn the consequence, and left the country. Is that what we voted the president for? To briefly violate our Constitution? And so we will keep bringing these up, and at the appropriate time, if we have to invoke the impeachment proceedings, we will do so. We will not sit idly by for the Constitution given to us to be violated without any consequence.
Well, the NDC MP for Bodi and the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Samson, he says the MPP's claims are simply baseless.
I think it's unfortunate that the minority will accept that. Now, the Constitution has specified that in the absence of the president, the vice president assumes leadership. In the absence of the vice president, the speaker is sworn in by the chief justice to assume leadership in the country. Equally, in the absence of the speaker, the mantle falls on the chief justice. Do we have chief justice in this country or not? Yes, we have His Lordship Justice Bafu Bone as the acting chief justice. So it is believed that Justice Bafu Bone has assumed the mantle of leadership in the absence of these three personalities that I have mentioned. So Bafu Bone is in firm control of affairs in our country. So there is no leadership crisis. There is nothing like that. It's automatic. It's automatic. It's assumed that the chief justice in the country takes over and, manage the country. It's automatic. So they're just being petty. They're just being petty about the whole matter. They're just being petty because, like I've said.
Let's quickly bring in Kweku Asasare, is a former law school director, joins us right now on the line. Is a lawyer himself, reads each constitution to give us some education on this very important, controversial subject. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Newsnight. You agree there is a case to be made for constitutional breach as far as the president is concerned that may justify an impeachment process against him?
Thank you very much. Whether there's a breach of the Constitution will depend upon several factors. One, before the president may be impeached for being absent and not being able to perform his duties, one would need to find out whether indeed the president, is absent from the country. Now, the Constitution stipulates that in Article 60, Clause 8, that whenever the president is absent from Ghana or is for any other reason unable to perform the functions of his office, the vice president shall perform the functions of the president until the president returns or is able to perform his functions. And then 11, where the president and the vice president are both unable to perform the functions of the president, the Speaker of Parliament shall perform those functions until the president or the vice president is able to perform those functions or a new president assumes office, as the case may be. 12, the Speaker shall, before commencing, to appoint the function of the President, or take and subscribe the oath set out in relation to the office. So first of all, we need to find out whether or not the President has acted constitutionally before the President travels or finds that absent to the country. The Constitution stipulates in Article 59 that the President shall not leave Ghana without prior notification in writing, signed by him and addressed to the Speaker of Parliament. So let us ask ourselves, is the President, out of the country before the President travels or prior to his absence? Did he notify the Speaker in writing? Was the notification signed by him? If the answer is in the negative, then one can say that he has breached the Constitution.
That is the position. That is the position of the minority, that wasn't done, and they also claim that because the Speaker also subsequently left the jurisdiction, then the fourth individual in that chain, who should have been the acting Chief Justice, was also not sworn in at all, and there was no letter formally saying he's acting.
Yes, so if the acting Chief Justice has not been sworn in, he cannot legitimately assume the reins of the presidency, because the person must, in accordance with the precedent laid down in the Doe-Ajaho case, must be sworn in accordance with the provisions of the 1992 Constitution before he can assume, the office of presidency. It is not for nothing that the premise of the Constitution spells out, those provisions. But one will wonder the circumstances under which the president may travel out of the country without, meeting the requirements laid down in, the Article 59. So for me, sometimes when we are doing politics, some of these things, we will not be told the truth. But if indeed the president just left the country, then, he can be reprimanded. I don't think that, this is an impeachable,
offense. Thank you very much, Kwesi Asare. I'm grateful for your thoughts on this matter. As a former law school director, I wonder where you stand on this. The minority, they've already pitched a camp, already indicating that they may consider triggering impeachment proceedings against the president. Still ahead here on Newsnight. We will take you to Kopiliga Basic School in the Talingsi district, where people kneel, squat, and lie on bare floors every day just to learn.
We are using our white uniform to sit on the floor. It's not good for us to sit on the floor. We don't have chairs, that's why we are sitting in the floor like that. Our mothers cannot buy chairs for us. We are not happy at all.
I'm not happy because I have not have kids.
Details of that right after business with George. Hello, George.
Hi, Ivan. The president has been speaking in Ivory Coast, and he's actually vowing to stabilize the energy sector and the economy, making those areas his major priority, insisting that ongoing reforms are already yielding the desired results, and government reveals plans to prioritize cities' firm stability rather than sustain appreciation against the US dollar. Be hearing more from the Deputy Minister of Finance. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials. Synthesis tanks and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
Spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said, "It's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all." Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information. We are good together everywhere you go.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Your family's health should never be a worry, no matter where you are in the world. Are you a Ghanaian in the diaspora, a foreign resident in Ghana, or a Ghanaian looking for the perfect health insurance plan for yourself or your family in Ghana? Then the Apex Ebusiapa Health Cover is what you need. A comprehensive health insurance plan to protect your loved ones. From hospital stays to life-saving treatments, we ensure quality healthcare at an affordable cost. Apex Ebusiapa Health Cover. You don't just send love home, you secure it. Visit Apex Health Insurance at Zion House, Boundary Road, Shashi East Legon, or call 0540-128-256 or 0501-683912. Apex Ebusiapa Health Plan. Global love, local care.
Brush your teeth every day and night. Up and down and all around. Brush it feeling bright. Brush your teeth. Brush with mom and dad. Underneath the impeaching, brush the germs away.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
For 10 times stronger.
This advert is FDA approved.
Hey, do you hear sir? And you stay soft concentrate fabric softener. I was such it move. Just send it say be here met na wache. New yan it na wache. No bia baby some was some demoni ni na say. Do you hear say? Fair quiet yesim biara so siesie wontare. Use stay soft and new yan it na wache. Na ni bon so da from cra. A fabric softener. And ye near say sir. Choose to stay soft. No who so say no. FDID a garden crack to yatu.
Sasso, si come tonton preko. Sasso, si come tonton preko. Edrana twami nebu seshe. Ye hakesia ne malaria. Minya me kone me sasso spray. Every mosquito study run away. Come on tonton preko. Sasso, mi se come tonton preko. Come tonton preko. Sasso, come tonton preko. Na ni shamne die e demo stronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, President John Mahama has given the firm assurance that he would work hard to stabilize the energy sector, including clearing its huge debt. He also maintained that the economy will be high on his list. The president disclosed this during the town hall meeting with business leaders at the Africa CEO Summit in Abidjan, Ivory Coast.
Of course, still the focus is on the macroeconomy, trying to stabilize the situation, build confidence, bring back investments. And I think that we're on the right track. I'm cautiously optimistic, and it doesn't keep me awake at night yet, but I think we're on the right path, and one just needs to keep his hands on the steer to make sure that we keep the course.
And that brings me to the topic at hand today, and that is the oil sector, which has, prior to you being in office, been a bit of a sore point for the Ghanaian economy. What do you think has been some of the main challenges with this for Ghana?
I think that the environment got a bit toxic. I don't know for what reason. Government did not seem to prioritize the sector, and so there was a lot of disinvestment. They had little squabbles with all the oil investors. For instance, with Tallow, there was a squabble over taxes. And I think that, it was something that they could have resolved. Tallow went into arbitration and won the arbitration before we came into office. And so on the rest of the issues left to that were in dispute, we are sitting with Tallow and we're resolving them. And I think that that's the way it should go.
And that's President John Mahama speaking in a town hall meeting with business leaders at the Africa CEO Summit ongoing in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Still on the sector, ineffective revenue mobilization and persistent losses have negatively impacted the country's energy revenue outlook. Now, speaking at the Third Party Vendors Forum in Accra, the Deputy Minister of Energy and Green Transition, Rich Jan Mensah, affirmed government's commitment to introducing greater private sector participation in the sector to enhance revenue mobilization.
As to which percentage will be seeded off ECG, I earlier indicated that ECG is going to be operational. It is some activities that ECG plays that will be given to the private sector. I cannot quantify to say that it is 10% or 20%, but there's going to be a private sector players coming in or private participation in the activities of the distribution of power. So generation is still intact, transmission is still intact. ECG at the distribution end, their activities is going to be complemented by the private sector. Even ECG as a company doesn't operate, actually run all their value chain by themselves.
Richard Jan Mensah is the Deputy Minister of Energy and Green Transition. The government has indicated that it plans to focus firmly on stabilizing the Ghana cedi rather than sustained appreciation against the dollar. Local currency has been on that sustained appreciation over the past two, is raising concerns about the sustainability of the current development. But Deputy Minister of Finance Thomas Nyakwampem says that the ministry rather wants some fair level of stability rather than what is happening now.
What the market is looking for is stability. So no matter what level we are able to bring it down, whether 12, whether 13, whether 10, the most important thing is for us to make sure that we maintain it there to allow for planning and for businesses to be able to work well. And so that is what we are working towards. But Dr. Bokkin made some important point about reserve accumulation. And that is exactly what we are doing. We are making hay while the sun shines. We know that the price of gold today is high, over $3,000 per ounce. We are also exporting enough gold. And so that is why you see clearly that our reserve has increased from the 6.2 billion in, I think, February last year to about 9.4 billion in February this year. We will continue in this trajectory.
Thomas Nyakwampem is the Deputy Minister of Finance. Still on the local currency, economist Professor Godfrey Bobkin has raised sustainability concerns about the city's performance against the US dollar. Local currency has witnessed one of its strongest gains in recent times, appreciating by more than 10% since the beginning of this year. But Professor Bobkin argues, looking at the current structure of the economy, anyone should be cautious about what is happening to the Ghana city.
You ask yourself whether since this government took over, there has been any or many transformative interventions in the economy, in improving the fundamentals of the economy, which is anchoring this relative appreciation. The answer will be no, and that is where you want to be careful. And when we talk about the fundamentals of the economy driving exchange rate dynamics, you are looking at whether there is real improvement in the real sector of the economy. We have been here before. Not long ago, there was a drive, especially from the central bank, to drag down the rate significantly. In fact, let's look at even interest rate. Right after the domestic debt exchange, right, there was an attempt to drag the treasury bill rate down significantly to about 15%. So if you see the graph, you will see it. But we couldn't sustain it.
And that is economist Professor Godfrey Bobkin. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you are a shareholder of MTN Ghana, this should be some good news for you, because today it went up again by 2 pesos to close at 3 Ghana cedis, 32 pesos. And it appears that the good financials of MTN Ghana is impacting the good run of the share price on the Ghana Stock Exchange. If you had invested on the Ghana Stock Exchange from the beginning of this year, you also made a return of more than 30% from investing on the Ghana Stock Exchange, far higher than other investment instruments on the Ghanaian market. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Evans.
John, thank you very much. We can do sports now.
Yes, Evans, the Ghana Football Association has moved to crack the whip on some officials of Brecum Chelsea, among which include their head coach Samuel Boadu for some alleged misconduct in the game against Kumasi Asante Kotoko, the semi-final match at the Takwa TNA Stadium. According to a statement that was released earlier today by the association, the former Heart of Folk coach is noted to have violated the GFA disciplinary code and the Ghana Premier League regulations. The charges, of course, in relation to the alleged behavior toward the match officials after the final whistle. According to the Ghana Football Association, it's alleged that after the match, coach Boadu approached the referee in an aggressive, angry and fierce manner, using inappropriate gestures which constitute misconduct that brings the game into disrepute. The Ghana Football Association has given the head coach until Thursday, May 15, to respond to the charges. And if found guilty, Samuel Boadu could face penalties ranging from a fine to touchline ban or even a suspension from all football-related activities. Also, some 4 other players of Brecum Chelsea, including Misak Efrie, Stephen Amankona, Zakaria Fuseni and Seydou Mohamed, have all been cited for misconduct, and we'll be following that closely to see how it all unfolds. But the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, the minister in charge of that outfit, Honorable Adams, has indicated that the ministry is close to establishing a sports fund to reduce their spiritual support which they offer athletes to proper funding of the various federations ahead of tournaments.
The ministry have engaged with many of you the matter of a sports fund, and we are inching close to getting that really done. And I believe that when it is done, it will reduce some of the situations where we only give you spiritual support and spiritual backing without the necessary financial backing. We can then move. We back you spiritually, and we back you with what it takes to participate. And
that's the Minister for Sports, Honorable Kofi Adams, on the sports fund there. Events, that's it for sports, and we are building up to the 31st of May, Aviation Social Center, and it's Hit FM, Rep Your Jersey. I hope you'll be there.
I will be there.
Yeah,
I will be there. Thank you very much. Now, I want to take you to the Kopoliga Basic School in the Talented District. Children there do not just learn, they suffer for it. They kneel, squat and lie on bare floor just to take notes. Some endure, others give up and head for Galamsey sites. In a crumbling start series, the latest episode in that series, Emmanuel Jivino reports on a school losing its fight to keep children in class.
The common way of we preserving
It's just past 8 a.m. here at the Kupulga DA Basic School in the Talensi district of the Upper East region. GHS1 pupils are learning about food preservation, but there is little preservation of dignity here.
So when you are keeping the food, you shouldn't let it change.
They wear white uniforms, but that will not stay white for long. Some children are sprawled across the bare cement floor, legs stretched out, using their thighs as makeshift desk. Others, like Blessing Doc, spreads a cloth before sitting.
We don't have chairs, that's why we are sitting in the floor like that. As we ourselves, our mothers cannot buy chairs for us. We are not happy at all.
I told you that consumption means what?
Justice Banda removes his shoe and places them gently beneath his knees to cushion his skin and keep it from bruising.
We are just kneeling down, and some of them are standing. Those people are having the chairs, they are just sitting their chairs. If you want to sit part of them, they say you won't sit. Who told you that your father and your mother, they are not buying chairs for you, then their father and their mother buying chairs for him, then you want to go and sit? I'm not happy because I have not have chairs.
Some take turns to stand, balancing exercise books on pillars that now double as makeshift desk. Others lie flat on the floor. This is not just an occasional inconvenience. For these pupils, this is the only way they have known school. Linda Atanga has been here for the past 3 years. Linda sees the impact of poor classrooms conditions every day.
Here is the case, the child is standing, stressed up. How will the child get the outside mind to learn?
The school has 127 pupils and just 4 teachers, including the head teacher. With no teachers available at the moment, these girls have turned their classroom into a football field to pass the time.
When you are coming to school, you will not be happy because you are coming to use your white uniform to sit on the floor.
Despite these conditions, some teachers continue to stay and teach out of commitment, but without urgent support, the school may continue to lose pupils.
Here is a mining community. If the child sees that coming to school gives me more stress, why not go in and do my mining and get money?
These children are eager to learn. They show up each day, but until basic needs like desk, teachers, and shelters are addressed, these children will keep fighting an uphill battle before they even get a chance to write their first external exams. BECE, Emmanuel Jivino, Joy News, Kupulga, Talensi District, Upper East Region.
Well, let's stay on the subject of education because Pecan Energies, together with its partners, has today awarded full scholarships to 20 outstanding students under the Pecan Inspire Scholarship Program for the 2024-2025 academic year. My colleague Stephen Mensah has more in the following report.
I come from a sub-community in Kotoboko, Nyamobekem. Those the work that we major in was catching of crabs and washing of cars.
Edwin Tande wakes up each day with a decision no teenager should have to make: go fishing for crabs to survive. His mother, a struggling fishmonger, does what she can, but it has not been enough to keep Edwin in school. His dream of becoming a chemical engineer was slowly slipping through the cracks of poverty.
I used to hawk, and then literally my mom is a fishmonger, and then anytime I close from school, you come to the house, she's done smoking the fish, and she'll give you some, Edward, carry it and go and sell. Most of them that actually took time to or spent much time of this, they got detached from the academics in the sense that this work that we do was really exhausting. Yes, if you return from catching of crabs, you return from washing of cars, and you feel exhausted. The next day you sleep, you don't even feel like waking up early to go to school.
Sandra's story is no different. Education became a luxury her family could not afford. She baked and sold pastries just to gather money for books she could not always buy.
I was hawking bread, so I bake and then I sell. saving money, hoping that I can make it through to the university. But it was even very difficult looking at the financial background of my family. Now there is a house where there is no money. So now you want to save. I save, and then the hardship at home even eats into my savings. There was no hope for me of going into the university.
But Edwin and Sandra are finally escaping that trap. They are among the recipients of the Pecan Inspire Scholarship, an initiative by Pecan Energies Ghana that fully funds tertiary education for underserved children. Khadija Amwa is the Chief Executive Officer.
We believe in making a difference in society and giving back to the people. And as you heard, lots of young people who would have been home, fishmongering, not that there's anything wrong with that, but if that's not what the person's ambitions are, they should not be limited to it. And so the idea is to lift people out of poverty and make a difference and give back.
For Edwin, Sandra and others like them, this is more than a chance to go to school. It is a second chance at chasing their dreams. Stephen Mentor's report for Joy News.
And just before we go, a few of your messages on our WhatsApp console. Musa Abattoir says Evans Mustafa Bande is right. The more MPP try to bring some agency down, the more he rises as a hero in contemporary Ghanaian politics. Petitioning OSP is nothing but a wild goose chase because there's absolutely nothing to investigate. This one says here, did anyone really see a bag of dollars in the same video making the rounds? What somebody did was not great, but let's not allow people to exaggerate. And another one says these MPP guys have exposed themselves to levels of absurdity. It's unfortunate these are the people who are leading the party. Charles in Legon says Ghanaians woke up to a video in which a young man handed out a bundle of cash, 40,000 says, to he makes an allegation. Surprisingly, nobody raised an issue, but the same people are now questioning the source of a few dollars notes that somebody gave to Madam Akrata. Those are a few of your messages on the stories we've had so far here on Newsnight. You want to catch the rest of the stories on our social media platforms, also on myjoyonline.com. Enjoy the rest of your evening.